But I do think that both fighters really, really wanted this fight. And shout out to them because they both sides have said they've been on the phone with each other for the last couple months or whatever and hammering down saying we're gonna make this thing happen. So salute to the fighters again taking control of these situations.
Now you are home. Things are you there.
What Ring Kings podcast is back early. What is going on, everybody? We're here, OTR Mike, B. Hey, if we're here early, that means there's some news dropping. And that news is Errol Spence and a friend of the show,
Black Prime, baby. We in the building.
Mr. Black Prime himself, Bud Crawford, agreed to a fight. It is happening. Yes, it is happening soon in July. What was it? July
29th,
I believe.
Yeah, 29th. Surprising news. So surprising that we just didn't believe it when it was reported by a reliable source. We're just like, yeah, okay, sure. We'll wait. But both sides are selling T-shirts for the fight. Errol Spence said he's already in training camp, so this is happening. How you guys feel about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, the boxing fan in me, it's great for boxing, right? But the core of me, it's not. I'm not excited, right? Like I would have been if it would have happened last year, like we thought it was going. When everything was going down, it looked like they were close, supposedly, yada yada. It just kind of lost its luster, and I think we kind of touched on that of how like the further they kick that can down the road, man, the more and more, it's going to lose its steam, and it may or may not be harder to sell. I think it'll sell. I mean, there are a lot of people online that's excited about it. But what you allowed to happen was Tank and Garcia step in front of that fight, and they had the boxing world buzzing for a while. Still has the boxing world buzzing weeks later. So they're gonna have a task to sell it, I think, right? But it's good for boxing as a whole, and I'm glad to see. I will be tuning in, but I have lost some excitement. I'll be honest with you guys.
I kind of feel that way, but go ahead, B. Go ahead and give us your thoughts.
Oh no, I agree with Mike. It's when you're ramping up for something, you're really excited about it, and it doesn't happen. You kind of lose a little bit of that. I'm sure the closer we get to it, the more excited I'll be. But I'll tell you this: we're all gonna watch the fight just because we do the show and we got to watch all the fights. If I were just a fan and I had to pick, that's not the fight that I'd be watching that week. I'd be watching Inoue and Fulton over this one.
Well, the good news is Inoue and Fulton won't be available to most Americans because we have to either get up early to go to work or we have to get the last couple of hours of sleep before we go to work.
Very available. Okay, some things require sacrifice.
If you think about it, though, we're getting sidetracked for a second. That is kind of genius. Because if you were to take any day off during the week, what day do you really want to take off? Like most people say Friday, but that's not really the day. The day that you hate the most is Tuesday. Okay. Mondays, you're ready to go back to work. Okay. Like you may not want to go back to work, but you prepared on Sunday. you mentally prepared on Sunday. Like, man, even if you say, man, I ain't trying to go to work tomorrow, you understand tomorrow is Monday and you're going, right? Whatever. It's Monday. It is what it is. I'll deal with it. Tuesday. All Tuesday is Tuesday. It's not hump day. It's not the day before Friday. It's not the day before the weekend. All you have on Tuesday is a full week ahead of you.
Tuesday is no man's land.
Listen, Wednesday, everybody feels a little bit better on Wednesday because it's hump day, right? You start to see a light at the end of the tunnel. Thursday is Friday Eve. Friday's Friday. It doesn't matter if you go to work or not. You've already checked out and your mind is already into the weekend. Tuesday is just the worst day. So if you're going to take a day off, Tuesday's the day to take the day off and entertain yourself with a great fight.
Yeah, if you take Tuesday off, the rest of the week is downhill.
Yeah.
Or just be smart like me and watch it at work. That's what I'm gonna do.
There you go.
I hope my bosses ain't watching, but that's what
you know, ain't nobody watching.
All right, back to Spencer Crawford. No, yeah, Mikey, you and I talked about it this morning. I feel kind of drained by the whole negotiation thing. Although it was a little entertaining at times, but it got to a point where I myself was wondering, what did Bud Crawford really want to do? Like, does he even want to box anymore? Because his name wasn't really linked to any other fights, right? At least with Errol Spence, there were talks of him fighting Keith Thurman or him moving up. Like, Errol Spence wants to fight the top fighters. He says it himself, no tune-ups. So he wasn't going to fight any David Avanesian type of fights. He wanted the best fighters. But with Crawford, you didn't really hear anything at all. And I know Jerron Boots Ennis called him out. I know Keith Thurman recently called out Bud, and there just really wasn't any buzz going right for any of that stuff. I think now we understand that Spence and Crawford were working behind the scenes to try to iron this out. I think they've probably been talking for a while, right? It's sudden to us, but I think they understood that this fight was happening. I think both of them had been training quietly, right? But no, like it felt like, all right, this might be the end for Bud Crawford. Maybe he's looking at retirement. And I just don't know, how much he has left in him. There was a time where I felt like both of them, it could go either way, right? Like this Haney and Lomachenko fight. But now I just feel like I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if Bud has it in him. I just don't feel like he has anything for Errol Spence at this point. But the closer we get to the fight, we get to see them training and the build up to the fight. I think I'll be more hyped about it. But right now, I just me today, I don't feel like Bud is really on that level with Errol Spence. I think this is just like another stepping stone for Errol Spence, and then we'll see what Bud does after this.
Man, the Budites is gonna come after you, bro.
I know, but you know what though, Bud fans, it's all right, man. We don't need to fight, okay? Because the fight is happening. We don't need to argue. We just gotta watch the fight.
Let's see what happens. Yeah.
Yes,
Why
sir.
Budites instead of just buddies?
Buddies kind of sound kind of.
Well, I've heard Bud buddies.
That's awful.
It wasn't a term of endearment. That was a slander towards the Bud buddies.
Yeah.
No, but I see what you're saying. Bud had a depending on which side you look at this, right? The Budites, as we say, they were under the impression that it was Spence that was holding this thing up, right? I think if you kind of stay down the middle, be impartial in the situation, Bud came out of the last set of negotiations not looking too good, right? For whatever reasons, for a ton of reasons, right? The hedge fund, all of this stuff, all the BLK Prime stuff, baby, all of that stuff. He just wasn't looking good in that situation. So I can see what you're saying. And then there was no talks of him any other possible fights. We, like you said, we had heard Spence and Thurman, was on the horizon if this didn't happen. So I see what you're saying. I think Bud still has, a lot in the tank. I think he's still a game fighter. Me personally, though, I just think that Spence is special, and I just think that from the beginning, right? I always favored Spence in that fight, just because I just think Spence just has a little bit more than Bud. We've seen Bud hurt before, haven't really seen Spence hurt before. So, but I can see where you're going with that. It looked like at one time too over the last stretch that Bud was just about getting the bag, right? Which is why he took the BOK Prime fight. Apparently, supposedly allegedly he got 10 million for that fight. I I don't know, man. I think I personally was watching some highlights today. People was posting stuff, and it got me a little more into it. Um, but it's going to be, as I said before, it's going to be a tough sell for both sides. I think. You already know Spencer's him. He's just quiet. Bud does a little bit more talking, but he has had a stretch where you question where his head was at, if he was all about just getting bags, because we know the situation with him and Bob Arum and how that turned out, and the money, and we feel like he could have been getting bigger fights back then, right? Um, so I don't know. I can see where someone might question where his head might be, but I do think that both fighters really wanted this fight. And shout out to them because they both sides have said they've been on the phone with each other for the last couple months or whatever, and hammering down, say we're gonna make this thing happen. So salute to the fighters again, taking control of these situations. We talked about how Tank and Ryan Garcia took control of that situation to make that fight happen. So salute to them for that. But I can see where your point is, Jose, with Bud, where his head is at.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just a feeling right now, right? Um, but it doesn't matter. The fight is happening, and we don't have to really debate on who will win the fight. We're gonna find out who wins the fight and who would possibly win the rematch, because there is a rematch clause. From my understanding, either fighter can activate it, or the loser can activate the rematch clause 30 days after the fight. And I believe the fight has to happen this year or by the end of this year.
Yeah, before the end of 2023. So we're gonna see two fights of these guys, um, fairly quick. So I guess that's a good thing for the sport. Let's just hope that it's a good fight. Um, it just I'll say this, right. They announced it, right. I even with the announcement, I'm still a little shaky. July just seems quick,
Yeah.
right. And then you look at July, late July at that, right. So then the next fight will have to happen before the year's out. So what you looking at? September, October, November ish,
Yeah,
maybe.
maybe December. Who knows?
Yeah. So I mean, that's a quick turnaround for both fighters. So we'll see, but it's here. So let's get excited, B. We're gonna find a way to get excited. It's happening. So we'll see.
I'm very excited for NY and Fulton. I'm going to be very excited that week. I always thought, even before that fight, the fight fell apart last year, I thought that Spence was the better fighter and that Spence would win. That hasn't changed. So I'm going to take Spence by a late TKO.
Oh, you think he knocks out Bud?
TKO. I think he gets stopped.
Wow, I don't know. I mean, I'm leaning more towards that. Like I always felt like, I think we all picked Spence to win, right? But I just thought it would be a close fight, right? I think Bud is up there, but recently I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, look, they both have been a little inactive, right? Errol Spence has just been kind of waiting for Bud, but at least had that fight with David Avenesian. But that doesn't really sway my opinion anyway whatsoever. But I don't know. Like, the longer the layoff and the more I'm looking at the two of them, yeah, I kind of feel like Spence is going to outclass him. I don't know about TKO. That would surprise me a little bit. I think both of them are still high caliber fighters. For it to go to turn into that, unless we have a Sean Porter situation, right? Where his trainer throws in the towel when you shouldn't throw in the towel. But no, I don't. I expect a unanimous decision for Errol Spence.
So let me ask you this: if Spence wins this fight without no tune-up, off of this long layoff, what does that say about him? And what does that say about, even a rematch, right? I like, unless it's a super close fight, right? I see that affecting. You almost need Bud to win the first one to sell the second one, right? I feel like because if he outclasses him, like you said, and he offered his layoff, no tune-ups, then it's kind of like, yo, what we want what we want a second one for? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think honestly, I think the only way we see a rematch activated is if it's a close loss for Errol Spence, right? Or a loss for Errol Spence. I think Errol takes a L. He gonna want that get back, right? He gonna want to get right back in that ring and get his revenge. I think if Bud loses a close one, I think if Bud loses, I'm not sure if he wants to get back in the ring and do a rematch. He probably just wants to, go do something else. I don't know. Maybe if he gets outclassed, definitely there's not going to be a rematch, right? Or Bud outclasses Errol. I think even if Bud outclasses Errol will still want a rematch, right? I think he's that prideful. I don't think Bud will want it. Right.
I'm going to disagree. I think that Bud will want a rematch. I think he'll activate the rematch clause regardless.
For the money?
Yeah, and his last fight sold a little over 100,000.
Yeah.
This fight should sell a lot more than that, and I think he's going to want. I think he's going to want 2 fights where he's selling and he's making a lot of money, since that's been a big deal.
That's fair.
I think he's going to activate that regardless.
That's a fair point. And, at this point, man, fight, like we say all the time, fighters aren't scared to fight each other, man. Like they worked this hard,
Right.
They reached this point. This fear isn't part of it, right? So, yeah, I can see that happening.
The Bud Ice gonna come after us, dog. Because every time we talk, it sounds like we down it, but we like Bud. I like Bud.
Listen, man, if he wins, we're gonna give him his props. I promise you.
Whoever wins is going to be the number 1 pound for pound in the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
I like Bud. I just think Spence is that special. I think Spence is that dude. I've seen this man come off of near death experiences and not take a tune up and do his thing against world class fighters or solid to good fighters, right? So and Bud is, I think the resumes, say a little bit more. I seen Bud, and we can blame Bud's previous promotion, even though he was kind of spearheading his last promotion of his own. But I just think Spence is that guy, But I love Bud, but I just think that Spence is that guy. So before y'all attack us, man, we like Bud too. We just think Spence is that guy.
Or how about this? Don't get emotional about it. Be an adult, right? If you disagree, that's fine. You don't like our takes, that's fine. Don't act like you're 9 years old, right? try to be an adult about it. Be a grown up and just say, hey, I don't agree with your opinion. I think, but Bud got this. Cool, right? Like, I mean, when we did our pound for pound list, I know Ferris is a big Bud fan. He thinks Bud is better than Errol Spence. That's fine, right? These are our opinions, and we don't have to sit here and fight about it. They're gonna settle it in the ring come July 29th, I believe. Yeah, end of July. So unless it ends in a controversy, even if it ends in a controversy, more than likely there'll be a rematch. So there really is no need to really go back and forth between the Budites and what we call the Errol Spence fans.
The rationals.
No, listen. I'm gonna be fair. They're fanatics, no matter who you like.
There are for sure, but it's a matter of percentage.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue that, because I've looked at some of these other YouTube channels, man, and the people that call into those shows or chime in the chat. A lot of Bud fans, they lose their minds. I don't know what I mean. He has a cult, right? Like I don't know what it is about him that they lose their minds over him. You can't say anything about him without them going at you. But we don't care. We do not care. All right. So obviously we're going to be talking more about that coming up. We want to kind of double back to Devin Haney versus Vasyl Lomachenko a little bit. We did a live stream after the fight. It was a very close fight. I don't even want to call it a controversial decision. Anybody could have won that fight. It was that close, but they gave it to Devin Haney. And you have a lot of fans out there saying, hey, Vasyl Lomachenko was robbed, and it wasn't that close. I don't know what fight you were watching. It was very close. So in a close fight, nobody's getting robbed. You just got to see how to, if it's a close scorecard, which it was, that's not a robbery, right? 7 rounds to 5 isn't a robbery. Now, if they're saying like 10-2, yeah, something fishy is going on. All right. But one person also agreed that he didn't help the matters by saying this is a robbery, and that was Devin Haney's own promoter, Bob Arum.
Sorry, man.
No problem.
You won that fight easy.
Right here. And one right here.
You won that fight easy.
Yes.
Easy.
What else? Yes.
I know.
So for our audio listeners, that was Bob Arum shaking hands with Vasyl Lomachenko after the fight and his father. And he's telling Vasyl Lomachenko, hey, sorry, man, you won that fight easy. And then he repeats that to his father, who walks by after Vasyl Lomachenko shakes his hand and says, hey, he won that fight easy. Easy. There's so many things wrong with that, right? Bob Arum promotes both of them. They're both on the top rank. When he thought the mic was off right there, that was a hot mic. When the mic was actually on, they asked him about it. He said he wasn't, really picking a fighter. This is now a good fight and all that stuff. So he understood that you don't really pick sides. But when he thought the mic was off, he showed his favoritism. We all suspected that he favored Vasyl Lomachenko, right? He wanted Lomachenko to have the belts. And if he wasn't going to win that fight, I felt like he was going to push for a rematch, which I suspect he will, and if that doesn't happen, he'll get Shakur to fight Devin Haney. They don't want Devin Haney having those belts, right? Bob Arum, this is why we don't like Bob Arum. And this kind of goes back to what Bud Crawford has said about Bob Arum, although Bud Crawford ain't doing himself any favors with the way he handles business. But the way he promotes black fighters is just poor, right? It's just poor. And this is a good example of it. You have Devin Haney, who has all the belts. He's undefeated, young fighter, very young fighter. A lot of redeeming qualities about Devin Haney, personality-wise. And no, he's not a knockout artist, but he's an excellent boxer. And I think Top Rank could do a lot more to promote him. And it doesn't seem like they're interested in it. I think they think that they can make more money with Vasyl Lomachenko. And there's the obvious reason for that, right? Right. But Vasyl Lomachenko, to me, has proven that he's not that guy. This is his third loss. Some people will argue he should have lost the fight before this, right? There's always an excuse for why Vasyl Lomachenko loses these fights, but I don't see a whole lot of winning from Vasyl Lomachenko.
Well, I'm going to disagree, but I don't have a problem with him saying that when he thinks that the mics are off. A lot of people thought Vasyl Lomachenko won that fight. I thought Vasyl Lomachenko won that fight.
Easy?
No, I don't think he won. I don't think he won easy. But I think he won the fight.
Yeah, but to say easy, like,
but there are people who think he did win easy. Shakur Stevenson's one of them. When he hopped in the ring and said that Vasyl got robbed.
I don't think I may cut you off, but I don't think he should be saying that to a fighter, especially when you represent the other fighter as well. He should say, "Hey, sorry, man, it was a tough fight. We'll see about getting your rematch." Right? You have to keep it professional. You can't. I don't think you should. I
don't think it's unprofessional to tell a fighter that you think he won when you think he won. like it's not saying, hey, there's something wrong with Devin Haney. It's just saying, hey, I think you won that fight, and you can still work on a rematch. I don't really think that's going to happen, but I mean, you can still do whatever. Like you watch the fight, and you're going to have an opinion on who won the fight. I don't think there's a problem with saying, hey, yeah, I thought you won it, but whatever. We'll move on from here. In terms of whether or not he thinks he can make money with Devin Haney, I don't think he can. And the numbers for this pay per view.
Well, before you get to that, because I want to show this too, right? Like this is why I have a problem with him saying it, right? Because obviously this got out and it got back to Devin Haney, and there you go, right? He's tweeting about it, right? Saying he's old, he probably fell asleep during the fight. Obviously he has a problem with that. And okay, he thought the mic was off. He got caught in a hot mic. He didn't mean for it to get out, but that's why you don't say it, right? You're in a setting, and Bob Arum is old, right? He's been around for a very long time. He understands the concept of a hot mic. So maybe in a phone call or when you're away from that setting, maybe you say it to him. But at that moment, no, man,
yeah,
you gotta keep things tight.
But that's a different conversation. Whether he should have said it to him right then and there is a different conversation than should you say it to him at all. Like they all have private conversations where they say things that they would not say publicly. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't have if you're there in front of, even if the mic wasn't hot, there's a whole bunch of reporters there. Somebody might have just heard you. So yeah, there's a better time and place to say that. But like I was saying, to your point about him not thinking he can make money with Devin Haney, it doesn't look like he can. Devin Haney up to this point has been on free TV for his championship fights before this, and this one sold about 150,000. But you also can't make money with Vasily Lomachenko,
right?
Because Vasil, he is a good fighter. He is, and not trying to say that he's not a good fighter or anything like that.
They're both excellent fighters, yeah.
But Vasil is 35. Again, doesn't have the power, same issue as Devin Haney. He's not an exciting fighter. He's lost 3 times in 20 fights. At least, because Ortiz had a good argument for beating Lomachenko in that fight. So I can see him wanting to get those belts off of Haney for that reason and get him onto somebody like Stevenson, who I think is a more exciting fighter and has the potential to be a much more popular fighter than either one of these guys.
Yeah. So and to your point, I'm sorry, Mikey, you want to chime in?
No, I was just gonna say I agree with B. But it's
what is it, Jacob?
Can you? Am I mad? This is my problem with it. When you were asked the question, you skated around it, right? It wouldn't be fair for me to answer. If that's how you felt, because it was to a lot of people, it was a controversial fight, right? Some people felt like Vasil got robbed, right? As Bob said, confidently, he won easily. So if you felt that way, when you were asked the question, say it. That's my issue with it. Other than that, he's entitled to his opinion. If he felt like he won, then he felt like he won. You are into a business agreement with these people, and he's made it clear. To your point, right? He said sometime leading up to this fight, when asked about what's next for Devin, what about Tank Davis, he said there's no money in it for Top Rank in Haney and Davis. I don't see how he feels that way, but that's what he said. I think I sent it to you guys, and I said, this is the same thing he did to Bud in a sense, right? He told Bud on live TV that I've lost money on Bud. In so many different ways. So I don't know how if he wouldn't be able to make money off of a fight with Haney and Tank, that's a problem with him. If he can make money off of these fighters that he has, he by all rights, man, he has one of the better stables, right? Yeah. He up until this last fight, he had the undisputed champion in Haney. You know, I don't know if it's a chance he's going to sign back off of all of this talk or whatever that went down, but we've said on this show, right? And some people thought we were crazy, but we've said on this show and we outlined why Bob would want Loma to win. First of all, Loma is his guy. He loves Lomachenko, right? Lomachenko was supposed to be the guy, right? He was the Matrix. He was what they call him, high tech. What is his
High tech.
nickname?
Yeah. The Matrix.
He was all of that, right? He was supposed to be, you know, the next Floyd Mayweather in a sense. Remember, he had he had a little bit of a defensive style like Floyd. He did all the certain angles, and he was supposed to be that guy. And this was the second time that Bob could have got him all the straps, right? The first time, he lined him up for Kambosos, right? And Kambosos, he went home, he went to fight and protect his country. So, salute to him for that. Haney went over there. Haney got the straps. He tried to put it back in his lap. He preferred to see Lomachenko win this fight. One, he still has Lomachenko in the contract. So if Devin decides to walk, he would have the belt still, right? And then he can keep the belts within the stable, because if he puts him up against Shakur Stevenson, who is a top-ranked fighter, either person that wins the belt stay home. So to me, it was clear that he felt this way, right? That he wanted Lomachenko to win. From a business standpoint, you probably don't want to say that out loud if you want to retain the fighter. If you don't care, then say it when the mics are open, or when the question is asked for you, say it just like you said it there. I thought Lomachenko won the fight. I do want to say real quick, while we are live recording, Michael Benson just tweeted that Vasil Lomachenko has retained his position as the number one contender in the new WBC lightweight rankings following his defeat to Devin Haney. Stevenson is 2. So if Haney moves up to super lightweight, the WBC would likely order Loma and Shakur for the vacant belt. That just dropped.
That makes sense. I don't think that Loma should drop off of what was an incredibly competitive fight. So,
yeah.
And Lomachenko versus Stevenson for the title. I mean, that is the path that it should go, right? Haney, obviously, he says he may need to move up because he has a lot of trouble making that weight.
Yeah.
So if he can move up and lure Tank Davis into a fight, and then you order Lomachenko versus Stevenson, I think that's the best case scenario for everybody.
I agree. But you talked about selling these fights, right? And Bob Arum it is like you can't sell Bud. Okay. You can't make money off of Haney and Loma. You can't make money off of Haney, would be Haney and Tank. That's what he said. Who can you make money off of? Right? Like,
to be fair, Bud couldn't make money off Bud either. And I think him saying he can't make money off of Haney and Tank is just him protecting Haney from losing all of the belts.
I'll say this:
them being out of the top rank control.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think this Bud and Errol Spence fight is going to do big numbers, right? I think it's obviously going to be the best pay-per-view that Bud's had, but I also think it's going to be the best pay-per-view that Errol Spence has had. And this is the fight that Bud has been pushing for. And Bob Arum has admitted that he just couldn't get that fight. He couldn't make that fight happen, right? That's on Bob Arum, right? So the fight that could get Bud some notoriety, he's not making happen, right? Saying, "Oh, go fight Josh Taylor." Okay, nobody knows who Josh Taylor is, right? Get him the fight that everybody wants to see, right? Put your ego away and go talk to Al Heyman and make that fight happen. Bob Arum refused to do that, right? But this fight, we're sitting here talking about what sells, what doesn't sell. This report came out from Dan Rayfield, and that's what you're going to allude to earlier, B. I didn't want to see you thunder. You want to take the lead here?
Oh no, just on the Haney and Lomachenko buys. So from multiple sources out there that it sold about 150,000. Possibly a little bit more, but just a very disappointing number for the magnitude of fight that it was, and especially for a Devin Haney, who obviously kind of feels that he should be a bigger star than he currently is, and especially coming a month after Davis and Garcia went over 1.2 million buys.
Yeah, I don't know.
At a much more expensive price, also.
Oh, this was more expensive than
No. Garcia and Davis was 85, and this was 60.
Yeah, I don't know how disappointing it is, man. Like none of us here had the expectation that it was going to do a lot, right? Like the average fights now, the average pay-per-views aren't that high. Like really good would be about 300,000. I think that's around what Errol Spence does, right? Or has done. 150 or 200, I think is average. Sure, I mean disappointing in the sense that you would hope that it would do more, but 150 is, man, 150, 200 is kind of what I expect.
But this isn't an average fight.
No.
So the two, because in that same article it mentions 200 to 300 is what you kind of see on average for non-heavyweight pay-per-views, right?
Yeah.
But this isn't just a random pay-per-view that way. This is the undisputed champion going up against allegedly the guy who's going to the Hall of Fame and could possibly be one of the best pound for pound all time. They were saying three or four fights ago. So this is the number one contender, one of the top guys out there against Devin Haney, who's the undisputed champ. You would expect that to be a much bigger fight. Especially like I said, when you're looking at Tank Davis, who has no belts, going up against Ryan Garcia, who has no belts and no respect.
Yeah. Mikey, what are your thoughts on this? I'm gonna put this article up on the screen real quick so people can see it. Dan Rayfield is reporting this. He says the event generated about 150,000 pay-per-view buys. Multiple industry sources told Fight Freaks Unite. That's who Dan Rayfield writes for. Another source said the fight did more than 150,000. The number includes streaming sales via ESPN Plus, as well as traditional cable and satellite services, with around 115,000 coming via digital and another 35,000 to 40,000 via cable and satellite. With a retail price of $59.99 for the pay-per-view, that means it grossed about $9 million in domestic television revenue. As a reference point, the recent Tank and Garcia pay-per-view in Vegas back late in April, won by Davis on TKO, did massively well by present day standards. That's a fact. It's believed that Davis Garcia was in excess of 1.2 million purchased, over 6 times the buys as Haney Lomachenko and pay-per-view audience. It's just basically what B is saying. And right here at the bottom, most non-heavyweight pay-per-views are struggling to get more than 200 or 300 buys in current boxing landscape. So this is exactly what you were saying here, B. Mikey, your thoughts?
I think that reading at the last line or the line before the last line is what's going to hurt us from seeing a Tank and a Haney next, right? Even though we're starting to see these guys get in front of the promoters taking hold of their destiny with these fights. As B said, Haney feels that he is more popular than he really is, right? And I think that's part of what hurts him the most, is because he got all the straps. He kind of shortcut himself in so many ways, maybe financially, to jump ahead of some people to get that fight with Kambosos so that he can get a shot at getting the straps, because I feel like he feels that was going to catapult him to superstardom. And it didn't do that, right? Like B also said, the numbers were just there. You seen Tank and Garcia both without belts sell over 1.2 million, and I think that bothers Haney, right? Haney's comments post-fight was also interesting to me, because he made a point to continue to say that, hey, I proved that I'm a draw. This place was sold out. I proved that, I beat a future Hall of Famer. I'm pound for pound #1, right? So reading between the line of those comments and then knowing how, Tank Davis and his team gets down, the ego side of it, of this A side, B side thing is what I think will hurt this fight. They won't 50-50 split that fight. Like Tank is not gonna want a 50-50 split because he feels like he's the draw, and by all accords, he is the draw. I saw somebody online talking about Hector Garcia, right? Hector Garcia, they just did a purse bid on his next fight, and the winning bid was 400,000. So somebody in the comments was like, "Ha ha ha! The guy that that Tank fought last, his fight is only going to go for 400K, right?" And everybody's like, "Yo, what are you laughing at?" he's talking about Tank said Haney got to get his numbers up, but this guy that he fought, only his purse bid is only 400K. Right. So, but people in the comments were telling them like, bro, but that fight did over 200,000 buys for a guy who, like you're saying, is a nobody to the casual fan.
Right.
So, again, you're hurting Devin's case in that situation because this guy has proven that he can sell out no matter who his opponent is. Right.
Right.
We've now seen Haney in major fights. Right. His last 3 fights were major fights, and they all had problems selling, right? So I think the ego side of this will get in the way, and it'll be hard to make a Tank Haney fight, even though we want to see it. But I think Devin is not going to want to give up being the A side because he got the belts. And he's coming off of this win where he just beat, so-called future Hall of Famer. So the numbers, I would have liked to see better numbers, maybe around the 200 to 230, 250, because then now you can come to the table with some type of argument. But 150, unless he's going to be willing to take the less of the line share, I think that hurts our chance of seeing the Tank and Haney anytime soon. Just my personal opinion. So that's from all of that and talking the numbers, that's what starts generating in my mind the next fight. And can we see what we really want to see happen on the business side? And unfortunately, those numbers to me are disappointing from that side because we won't be able to see what we want to see. But like you said, Jose, we weren't expecting it to do much more than what it did. I think we had maybe said it might do 200. So
that's
we
what
were,
I was hoping for.
yeah, we were under that. So unfortunately, man, it didn't sell like we thought. So we'll see what happens next.
Yeah, listen, it's disappointing for me from a standpoint of not the expectation. We expected to do around that much. That's just like the average for these fights. Disappointing because I think I said I hope. Look, I want all these pay-per-views to do well, right? I want Boston to grow in popularity. I was hoping that it would be a bigger draw than we expected, and maybe it get like 3, maybe even 400,000, and that's a big enough buzz to be like, okay, these both of these guys are growing in popularity, and they're both draws, and that drum up some interest. But yeah, 150,000 is underwhelming. I think now I'm thinking about it, I think a rematch might do both of them some good in terms of sales because of the controversy and how it ended. Maybe a second fight would do better, and then from there you can kind of assess the numbers. And then on Haney's side, if you win, say, okay, let's do this fight with Tank. But yeah, right now it's either got to be you got to do another fight and prove that you can get your numbers up if you want a 50-50 split or a bigger split. Because those numbers right there, 50-50 ain't happening, right? 60-40, maybe even less, Tank might push for coming off of that Ryan Garcia fight. Now, you can argue that Ryan Garcia is a huge draw too, right? But Hector Garcia ain't a huge draw, and he sold more with the Hector Garcia fight than Haney did fighting another popular fighter in Lomachenko. That's going to be the argument. That's what really hurt him. He had to at least outsell that fight, and he didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree a little bit. I don't want these pay-per-views to do well because I want the promoters and the networks to see that is not the way to go. Like boxing's popularity is fine. When Haney was fighting for free on ESPN Plus, well, not for free, but on ESPN Plus, not on pay-per-view, he did 1.3 million views on average. When Shakur Stevenson was fighting on ESPN Plus, he was doing 1.3 million views. So the interest is there, but the difference between boxing and say UFC, because I'm looking at Israel Adesanya's pay-per-view buys, right? So he's been doing 800,000 for one of his fights, 700 for one. The numbers for the second Pereira fight, I don't see anywhere at this point. But you would expect
it didn't do that well.
Well, I mean, maybe, but it is also fairly recent, and those other fights were much older. But I think the reason you see bigger numbers like that on some cards is that UFC stacks their cards with a lot of fights and a lot of popular fighters. Yes. That card also had Gilbert Burns, also had Masvidal, also had Kevin Holland, guys that people know and people want to see. And you're still not doing the numbers that the Tank and Davis fight did, which was the only fight that anybody was ordering that pay-per-view to watch. Right. But those kind of fights are going to be few and far between. And people just, when you have so many options, there's Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, and Apple TV, all these different streaming options. Are you going to, pay out $60 every other month to watch a boxing match? Probably not. Yeah. Probably not. But you will put the fight on if it's on the network. And, that's what like Amazon's doing with ONE FC, right? They pay ONE FC and the fights are just on there and you watch them. That's what DAZN was doing for a bit, but obviously they didn't properly estimate their market considering what they were paying for some of those fighters to be on the network, Canelo and Triple G and them. But I think that the appetite is there for the fights. It's just not there to pay 60 plus for every single fight of significance.
Yeah, no, man, that's an excellent point, B. The ratings that I think that is proof that these boxers are popular and people do want to see them fight. But when you're talking about making a financial commitment, right, that's something different. For somebody like Haney, yeah, people will tune in to watch Haney, but Haney's not a knockout artist. Tank Davis is a knockout artist, right? Like it just, even though he doesn't have the belts that Haney has, the fights feel like there's more weight to it, right? I mean, those crowds. I mean, it's a show. It's a whole performance. And I think we said this on the show before, right? Like Top Rank has, man, they have the fighters. They have a stable over there, but PBC puts on a show, right? Those pay-per-views, you get your money's worth on those pay-per-views. And they have fighters over there too. But man, like it's just a different experience. It feels like when you order those fights. One being because ESPN Plus is the worst app on the face of the earth, right?
Be okay, Brian.
Listen. We do not condone bootlegging over here, okay? But I promise you, if you bootleg that fight, it was probably a higher quality than ordering it on ESPN Plus. That's how bad their service is. All right, as Lyle buying sentences over here paying for ESPN Plus. Okay, we can attest to their poor service. Okay, DAZN as well. DAZN still owes B money, by the way. Okay, we haven't forgot that DAZN.
DAZN's a garbage service, and garbage service and garbage customer service, mind you.
Yeah. At this point, I mean, dare I say they're criminals, right? They're just holding up your money.
Yeah.
Right. But listen, you have to be accessible. And if you're going to put this is Devin Haney's first pay-per-view fight, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. Lomachenko too, I think. I don't think Lomachenko's been on pay-per-view.
No, because the Teofimo fight wasn't on pay-per-view.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. So this is their first pay-per-view fight. but they've built up enough hype to where it should have done more than 150,000. But if you're going to put your fighters on pay-per-view, then you have to promote the fight. I don't think these promoters do nearly enough to sell these fights, right? Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia did something that nobody expected. That I wasn't expecting anywhere near 1 million pay-per-view buys, but those guys know how to work social media, especially Ryan Garcia, right? Both of them are very active on social media. They gain popularity, like they're doing all the right podcasts and shows, everything. YouTube, they're doing all that stuff. They're bringing in a different crowd, whereas these other fights, it ain't just Haney, Lomachenko, like all these other fights. They're just kind of going through the same circuits, right? The same circle of people. That's not bringing in a casual fan. You have to get out in front of the casual fan and say, hey, check me out. Check out my fight. I'm an exciting fighter. I'll fight another good opponent. You should watch this fight. That's what Tank's camp is doing. That's what Ryan Garcia's camp is doing. That's why they get more pay-per-view buys. You can't just be out there and just say, okay, we have a fight set up on this date. We'll do a couple of press conferences. We'll do our stare down. We'll have our weigh in. We'll stare down each other, and then we'll give each other a little shove. And hopefully that sells the fight. You got to do more than that. It doesn't work in today's climate. There's too many other things to watch now, right? You have to do more to draw people in.
Yeah, and like you said, you have to get in front of people, and it's not like it used to be where we're all watching the same, 5 or 6 channels, and you can just buy some ads and it's cool. I don't know if Apple has any interest in this, but go to Apple, try and get yourself signed to Apple and see if they'd be interested in fronting the money for these fights. I know every show that's coming on Apple TV. I don't have any interest in watching them, but I know about them because every time I do watch something on Apple TV, they're playing trailers. And every time that show ends, they're playing trailers for all their other shows. Like they do a great job of letting you know what's on their platform, right? And you see that across, Netflix, Disney Plus, all of them. But if you're on ESPN, I mean, who else is going to know that you're even fighting? And it's not like boxing is a big part of ESPN's programming at this point. You have to do more. And to be fair, that's what DAZN was an attempt at, but DAZN didn't have the money. Apple has more money than God. Amazon, Google, get your fights on YouTube.
Hey, you know what? This
something.
This is the time to do it. Now that they had the writer's strike, they're thirsty for content.
Yeah.
Right. So all right. So look, we got another story to get to. Look, Claressa, the GWOAT Shields, had a fight coming up. I don't even remember the person's name because she's not fighting anymore. And turned out she was a cheater. Okay. Had a fight coming up, and that opponent got swapped out because she got busted with high levels of testosterone. Correct. Do you remember her name? Does anybody remember her name? That's okay. Because the new opponent,
Hannah Gabriel,
is who?
The previous opponent was Hannah Gabriel.
Hannah Gabriel's, yes. Yeah. Good eye there. We knew that. Hannah Gabriel's was removed from the card on Thursday due to results from a voluntary anti-doping association test earlier this month. The zone has announced the new opponent is Maricela Cornejo.
I'm going to say this real quick. Maricela does not look like she's ready to fight. not in that picture.
She looks like she ready to catch some hands, boy. I'm not sure what belt she's holding right there, but she might as well just go ahead and hand that over. So let's say so do we think Hannah was she Hannah Gabriel's did she purposely dope, or did she eat some tainted steak from Chipotle? like our man did.
I'm not gonna say that she did. She was purposely doping. Right? Like we don't know. There's a lot of ways that you can pop positive on these tests, right? There's a lot of supplements, and you don't necessarily know what's in all of them. But that is your responsibility as a professional athlete. And it's unfortunate for her that she's not going to be able to participate in the fight. But, that's just the way it goes. Like I said, the new opponent in that particular, I've never seen her fight. But in that particular picture, I'm not real high on her chances against Claressa. But, we'll see.
So here's her reasoning, according to her promoter, Lou DiBella. Right?
Haven't heard that name in a minute.
Hannah Gabriel's promoter, Lou DiBella, on how she tested positive for cholesterol. What is it? What's the one she tested for?
I don't know.
I don't know how to pronounce it. But it was they said a testosterone derivative.
Cholesterol or whatever. Same thing that was the same thing with Canelo, right?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's the same thing. Either way, okay. Her dog had major abdominal surgery. She applied the medication to her dog, and that's how it got into her bloodstream, according to her promoter.
Wait. She gave her dog medicine.
Like a cream.
Yeah.
And it seeped in through her skin.
Yeah.
That's what we're going with. I will give these athletes, man, these athletes are creative.
Yeah, they are very creative. They are very creative. Jesus. Okay. All right. Here's what we're gonna do right now.
Because how could you be certain that was the way?
Yeah. She did an internal investigation, and she said, I determined what the cause is.
Like the NFL, we investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing.
So first, it was the ingredient. It was in the medication. Gabriel spread on her dog's surgically repaired abdomen. She then had her husband spread the medication on the dog's stomach after Veda tested and informed that the banned substance was a component in her dog's medication. Okay. Which prompted Shields and her promoter to go with the new opponent. DiBella says, I am not blaming Claressa for this. I'm not complaining that Claressa picked another opponent. I understand that Hannah tested positive for a banned substance. I'm just explaining what happened here. He also said that Hannah's the real victim here. She hasn't had a payday in 25 months, and now she's out of a big fight. Her dog had a major abdominal surgery. She applied the medication to her dog, and that's how I got into a bloodstream. So he keeps repeating that. So, yeah, that's why she is out of this fight.
Okay, so this was Marcela Cornejo, right? We all agree she does not look like she's ready to step in the ring. This is Hannah G.
Damn.
Yeah. Are you sure? Like, so just by that application, I mean, was it like infused with gamma rays? Like, what kind of cream was that she applied onto her dog that made her look like that? Okay.
Now, apparently, what I didn't know is that so Gabriel is 21-2-1 with 12 KOs. She has already fought Shields.
Did she knock her down?
But she got the rematch because she's the only opponent to knock Shields to the canvas.
Yeah. She's tough. Yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, sad if true, right? That's a wild story, though. That's a wild story. I don't know.
That doesn't seem like a compelling reason to get the rematch. They fought 10 rounds, and on the judges' scorecards, Shields won 9, 8, and 8.
Yeah, they say she won handedly though, but it was a flash knockdown according to this.
She knocked her down. And that's great. I'm saying when you lose 9 out of 10 rounds, there's no reason to have a rematch. No reason to have a rematch, knockdown or not.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately for Shields, there's no opponents out there for her.
Yeah.
right? That's all it is. So it's kind of like, let's recycle this story. Hey, remember that one knockdown that lady scored? Let's get her back and try to sell that fight. But there's really nothing for Claressa Shields right now.
Yeah. Hey, you remember that one guy who beat James Roper when he was an amateur? Let's get him in there.
Yeah, no, it's tough for both of them, man. Like Claressa is in a spot where I don't know. Like I'm not sure. Like what's her weight class compared to like Katie Taylor and Serrano? Like
she's a middleweight.
Yeah, she's too heavy for them, right? Yeah. That's the thing. There's a lot of excellent, great fighters, women fighters, but Claressa is too big for those fighters. So she's just kind of in no woman's land, so to speak. But she's gonna go put on a show against Marcella, and Marcella will get a payday. And we hope Hannah recovers from that cream application on her dog and gets another fight set up, because that does suck, man. Like that is a profession, and not being able to. Well, I mean, I'm not sure how much she was getting paid from it. Women fighters don't get paid that much, but yeah, we'll see. All right. Is there anything else we need to cover? Did we get everything?
Garcia with Derrick James.
That's right. Yes. Ryan Garcia has a new trainer, coach of the year or trainer of the year, Derrick James, who trains Errol Spence and the Charlo brothers, and he's coaching.
Good Charlo, anyway.
Well, the Charlo brothers, he coaches both of them.
I don't think he trains both of them, does he? I think he only trains Jermel.
I thought he trained both of them.
I don't know. I thought he only trained Jermel.
Nah, he trains both of them, but one ain't active, so I guess you can say.
He's not currently training Jermel.
He's also currently training Anthony Joshua.
But that's about to change because Jermel about to fight Chad Ochocinco.
James also is currently training Anthony Joshua
and Frank Martin,
who is a beast.
Yeah.
So, man, listen, I don't think Derrick James takes on Ryan Garcia unless he gets a real commitment from Ryan Garcia. Now, Ryan Garcia has had a history of not putting his best foot forward, not putting in the work. Canelo's campus said that when he was training under Eddie Reynoso. And, from what I've seen, he hasn't refuted that, right? But Ryan Garcia is young too. And maybe it's just one of those things where he hadn't matured yet. And listen, man, taking an ass whooping, right, in front of 1.2 million people will humble you and make you reflect on things. And maybe this is a good thing for Ryan Garcia, because I think he got with one of the best trainers in the game. And he's moving up to 140. And Ryan Garcia could do a lot of damage there. He's got the tools, right? And if Derrick James can train, coach him up, you still have a superstar in the making with Ryan Garcia.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun when he gets some training in. Like you said, he moves up to 140 and he knocks out Devin Haney.
You think he's going to knock out Devin Haney? Listen, man.
I'm saying it would be a lot of fun if it happened. I'm not saying for sure that it would happen. I think he has a great shot at beating Devin Haney. I think he's a very skilled fighter, but I'm not saying for sure. I'm just saying that would be pretty hilarious to me.
I think he knocks Rolly out first to take his belt.
Yeah, he gonna put Rolly to sleep. I don't think he beats Devin Haney.
That's an unserious division. Why Rolly Romero got a belt?
But no, I think it's a good move. Look, it's a move that can't hurt him. Right, he went to the right person. If he's invested, like you said, he should get better. I mean, typically when you're in a camp like that, iron sharpens iron. So you working with some of the best fighters in the world. So he if he's really involved and invested, he should get better and fix his mistakes that he showed over the past couple of years. So I think it's a good move for him, man. I would have I didn't think when they said he was a free agent, I didn't when they say he was looking anyway, I didn't think about Derrick James as being a possibility. I know they said he was, had contacted Eddie Reynoso again, possibly going back there. I joked and said, "Hey, he should come to Baltimore, man, and go to Upton." You know what I mean? And get with Tank in them. But I didn't think Derrick James, but I think it's a good move for him.
Yeah. All right, and look, and to his credit, he did say after the fight that he's moving up to 140, and you will see him soon. So I give a lot more respect to Ryan Garcia this year, even in a loss.
Mhm.
I respected him for making that fight happen with Tank. Both of them making that fight happen relatively quickly, right? They said they're going to do it. They kept their words. The fight happened, and now he's just like, all right, I'm gonna move up to 140. I'm gonna get with another trainer, with the hottest trainer in the game right now, and I'm getting right back out there after it. There seems to be a change in his mindset. That's what it seems from the outside, right? And we'll see who he takes on next. I expect him to announce something here soon. I don't think he's going to take a long layoff. He should be getting back out there pretty soon against somebody. Rolly would be a perfect a perfect opponent. Rolly he's just begging for somebody to give those belts to, or give that belt to.
And I agree with you. I think that, like to getting beat in front of that many people in that fashion, but also finding out that everyone you surround yourself with don't really mess with you, it's probably going to change your mindset pretty quickly.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't think he makes his move if he's not serious about boxing. If he and I know I've been hard on the young fella, on this show, but I think this move shows that he's serious about boxing and improving his craft. So good move for him. We'll see. I mean he's, by all accounts of his Instagram, he's been hinting at him getting back in the ring very soon. So I think we will see him sooner than later. And let's see what happens, man. See where it goes for Ryan Garcia. And I think that's part of the Tank effect, right? Look at all the Tank's opponents, right? Outside of Hector Garcia, because we haven't heard much after that situation, but you gain more popularity and respect coming off of a loss from Tank, right? It honestly propelled Aesop Cruz to being a bigger name in boxing, because they thought, oh, he gave him an issue even though Tank beat him with one hand. But that's not for neither here nor there. But it brought popularity to him, right, as being a fighter that, hey, he's a game fighter, solid name for somebody to get in the ring with. I mean, it made Rolly a household name, right? Yeah. We know what Rolly is. Rolly is the same as what we thought he was before he stepped in the ring with Tank. But he knew how to sell the fight, and that's Rolly's gift. He knows how to sell the fight, so he'll make a lot of money in this game. But he fighting Tank only helped him along the way. You know what I mean? And then Ryan Garcia, a lot of people were down on Ryan Garcia, right? Even in the loss to him, to Tank, Ryan Garcia, as you said, Jose, is getting more respect, right? You don't hear many people clowning Ryan Garcia like they used to on Twitter and everything, saying, the things they said about Ryan Garcia. So you're not hearing that no more. Now you're seeing people say, all right, man, Ryan, all right, Ryan's tough, or whatever you want to call it. So, as y'all can tell, that was hard for me to say. But but like I said, man, I do think going to that camp is showing that he's legit about getting his boxing game together.
All right. Well, that wraps it up. Oh, did you want to say something, B?
I did not.
Okay, B's good. That wraps it up for a sort of an impromptu episode of Ring Kings podcast. We wanted to kind of touch on this now before we got to the weekend. Very exciting news about Errol Spence and Bud Crawford. And like B said, that same week, Cool Boys, Stephon Fulton taking on the Monster in a way. That's going to be a huge fight as well. So some very good matches coming up here. And, hopefully we'll see the return of Ryan Garcia in the near future. But lots of stuff going on, man. Lots of stuff going on. And then obviously we got to see what happens with Haney and Lomachenko moving forward. I think in the coming weeks, things will start to unfold with both of those individuals. So stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. If you are listening to the audio podcast, make sure you follow us. Make sure you give us a 5-star review. All right. Mikey, anything else before we get out of here?
My bad. I was trying to pull up the schedule because I think the month of July is popping. I think you just named 2 of the fights, but I was trying to pull it up real quick. But
that's cool.
In July we got, let's see, Jared Anderson versus somebody whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce.
That's right.
We got Franchon Cruz Dezern versus Savannah Marshall that same day. You got Stanionis versus Virgil Ortiz on July 8th. Alicia Baumgardner versus Christina on July 15th. Fulton Inouye, and then Spence and Crawford on the 29th.
Huge month. And that's at the end of the month to lead us into August. And what happens August 4th? Yes. For our audio listeners, what you were just listening to was our promo for the Roundup Meet and Greet happening August 4th in Columbia, Maryland at Bus Boys and Poets. It will be myself, OTR Mike, Brodny. We got Hendo from the Road Pod. We have Coach Evans from Sit to Tally Films and Chris Just Joking from the Deep Cover Podcast. So make sure you go get your tickets. There's going to be food, drinks, alcoholic drinks available via Cash Bar. We're going to have music. We're going to be giving away prizes. Going to be lots of fun. So get your tickets while they're still available. That is August 4th in Columbia, Maryland, the Roundup Meet and Greet. All right. That's all I had. And make sure you're following us on all the social media, right? Twitter, TikTok, and is that it? Twitter, TikTok, yeah, at LBHTShow, or not LBHTShow, that's the other one, at Ring Kings Pod, and make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. All right, we are out of here. B, are you ready?
Yep.
All right, B is ready. Thank you for listening. We will see you guys next time. Peace.